Tricked it. A little bit of a jerky motion there. Come on, catch up with yourself. There we go. I look forward to reading this. It's not a trivia. I'm going to be reading off different places, so this is going to be interesting. Just gotta wait for the folks to come in. I'm sorry I didn't give a shout out or a heads up of when this is going to be going on, but I had to decide whether or not I was even going to run a chat, and I decided I was going to. And I was going to do trivia questions on the paranormal, but I decided that it would be kind of cool to read off different haunted places. I figured that would be more interesting instead of trying to figure out questions. So I'm going to read about buildings, and then if there's enough interest, I might find some covered bridges and read on those. So we can dig up all kinds of stuff. I used to look on these things all the time out of fascination. I like watching ghost hunters, and they have really seriously checked up on some cool places. I really like the ghost hunters. I'm not as big on ghost adventurers, but I like ghost hunters. And then my favorite show of all is on, I think it's on Discovery Channel, when they do the most spookiest places on Earth, or the most haunted places on Earth. I think it's on Discovery, and that is like my favorite show. I miss shows like that, but we don't watch TV anymore, so instead I'm always looking, like I've got Tubi and Amazon Prime, and I'm always trying to find a really good ghost story, but I tried to find a ghost story that is based on actual events. That way it's not something that's made up. I'm more interested in truth. Hey Luke, how you doing today, buddy? I'm doing pretty good. Surviving the heat, which even though it was supposed to be hot today, it's not drastic. I guess it's tolerable, even though it is hot out. But it's not bad. Survivable. They haven't showed up yet, but I've only had this running for about 5 minutes, so more than likely nobody got notification, which isn't unusual. That's how YouTube runs. And I didn't do a shout out video with the announcement of what time or anything. I didn't give a heads up. So I'm just going to be patient. trying to kind of fill the minutes with a pre-talk. Anyway, I was saying how that I really enjoy watching ghost movies, but I prefer movies that's made out of actual events instead of just made up. I think true stories are better all the way around. That's my preference, true stories. I think the stories that's made up, they're just too fake. They're just too fake. Well, that's okay. There's no problem about that. No problems about that. I can understand that. The night before, Nikki couldn't find a charger either. She had to borrow Mark's. And she said she used a replacement. So that, that happens when you don't find a charger. But yeah, it's no problem when anybody's got to leave the stream. And really, unless you want to share the reason why, it's not my business. So it'll be good for us to get enough people in here so I can start reading these. They might actually prove to be pretty good conversation starters. Have you had a pretty good day today, Luke? Well, that's good. It's good that you've been busy too, but it's good that it's starting to slow down a little bit for you. It's starting to, I guess you could say, be easier to handle, I reckon. I really don't have anything to say other than just read these haunted stories out. I tried to find the full stories on them, but I guess people don't want to completely put the entire work down. That'd be too much typing. They'd rather go on ahead and list so many count and just give brief. You just hold on a moment there. I'll be back in a second. All right, I just got message that one person's going to try to be in before long, so that's good news. Just gotta wait for it. Hey, Mark. How is the family today? I'm doing pretty good. Man, we sure did miss all of you yesterday. Mitchell didn't show up either. Neither did Levi. I missed everybody. Eventually, Dylan and Savannah showed up, but I missed everyone else. Julian tried to get in, but he was on his way home in the car, so he didn't really get to join. He had asked if I would have ran it a little later last night, and I said that I was just doing it for the kids. I don't know if he didn't show because of church or if he just didn't make it, period. He didn't give me notice as to why or where. But Julian had requested that I had it later, and I told him that I was just doing it for the kids, and he said he couldn't make it, and then he actually did, but so very brief. Nope, didn't see Ian either. We ended up having Dylan and Savannah. Luke showed up. We had Terry. Terry stayed the entire time, bless her heart. And Anthony briefly showed up. Yeah, I didn't have anybody yesterday. It's hard to tell with the kid. I don't know if he's choosing to stay out for everybody else or if he's just been so tied up with school. I know he said that school is getting pretty hard, so it's probably just school and he's staying exhausted. Hey, Nikki. No, it's good to see the both of you at the same time. I've been missing you, girl. So how's the little man doing? Yay! Everybody should be happy now. I assume he's been doing pretty good then, just being a good little boy. It's always easier to handle a baby if they're not up and about being fussy. I take it he is kind of a quiet little fella. You said that he's trying to talk a lot, but other than that, I gathered that he's a really good little fella. That's so good to hear. You two are blessed, I tell you. Yins are really blessed. Who knows if Christ tarries his coming, he gets old enough, he can have himself a viewing channel and just come in and watch my chat. I know we do. Carol! We are doing great. It's good to see you. You got to come on early. That is terrific. Instead of being a little later. Yeah, I'm kind of thinking, though, with all that's really going down on her channel, she's probably chosen to just do private videos. Well, Carol said that, like, when she went to check on her, it said that the channel didn't exist. When I went to check, it showed that the videos had been put on private. Hello, Anthony. You know, it's kind of funny when you come on, all the names kind of disappear. You come on saying hola, and I just know it's you. How are you today? So yeah, I don't know if Joy actually removed her channel or if she's just chosen to put all of her videos on private. Okay. Let's see if I can find anything. Because I really don't know what's going on with Joy. I do know that she hadn't been doing anything, so. Hmm. Hmm. Uh, maybe. No, I haven't looked at anybody's uploads. Haven't looked at anyone's, Anthony. I know that you did. Yeah, he usually is. Julian usually is. Um, Carol, it might be a virus or it might just need rebooted. And you can simply do that by unplugging it and then plugging it back in. I never did bother to actually check onto her site. So I don't know. Yeah, it just keeps reading that it's been put to private. So more than likely she is like putting up more videos but keeping it absolutely private, which to me, the way I see it, that's useless. You're welcome. Yeah, I agree there. He might show up. I hope. That would be cool. We'll give a little bit more time for the rest of people to come in or whoever. Terry said that she'd try to get in soon. Uh-huh. Yeah, I wish that I could find a fuller info on different places, but they just give short stories. A lot of these places we know, and then some of them, like me personally, I've never heard. Okay. Now, I was going to set it up like a trivia, and then I thought, no, I'll just read them. Figured that would be more interesting to read it out than to ask questions, because more than likely people really wouldn't know. Yesterday, I'd done questionnaires on people in their real names, the actors in their real name. Nobody was able to guess anybody, which, like I said, we really didn't have a crowd, but nobody knew. So that was kind of a dead questionnaire. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I hate what Terry's going through. I am wanting so badly to take the 3 hour trip to go see her just so that I can give her a hug, pray with her, and encourage her. I'm wanting to so bad. And I looked at the route. It would be easy for me to drive, but I'd have to like do it on a weekend when hubby has had enough sleep so that he can take care of the dog because I don't want to take the dog. I haven't even asked him yet if he would care for me to do that. But I really feel like I need to go see her. And you know, it might would really help her a lot if she would have company that she could trust. Huh. What is going on with everybody's computers? I think Satan's behind all this, seriously. I honestly believe that Satan's behind every bit of it. It is. But one thing I can say, if we didn't have some technology, we wouldn't be able to do these chats. Then we would have never met, we would have never become friends. So there's a plus to it, and then there's always the downside. That's where I'm truly grateful for computers. I have met some very awesome folks, and I wouldn't never take that back. And tell me about it. We may just go on ahead and get started with the reading, and whoever shows up, they show up. I need to stop dilly-dallying and just getting into it because, yeah. And I don't want to lose what little bit of audience I got. So we'll go on ahead and get started. Whoever makes it in gets in and they can catch whatever. So the first one that we're going to be reading about is the Eastern State Penitentiary in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. Have you ever heard of that place? The Eastern State Penitentiary in Pennsylvania? I think I've only heard of the name. I don't know anything about it. During its heyday, Eastern State Penitentiary was one of the most expensive and well-known prisons in the world. It was built in 1829 and housed big-name criminals like Al Capone and bank robber Slick Willie. I've heard of Slick Willie. Up until overcrowding became a problem in 1913, prisoners were kept in complete solitude at all times. Even when prisoners left their cell, a guard would cover their heads so they couldn't see and no one could see them. Today, the decaying penitentiary offers ghost tours and a museum. Shadowy figures, laughter, and footsteps have all been reported as paranormal activity within the prison walls. And that is highlighted, so I'm going to see. See if we can dig a little deeper on that. Anytime now, Georgette? You don't reckon that stupid storm is knocking out a lot of internets, do you? It's possible. All right, then fine. You don't have to do it. Just simply forget it. Come on now, you just had it open. I was going to see what in the world the highlighter was about. Okay, now maybe I'll pull it up. Showing the Stanley Hotel. Oh, okay. Yeah, we got to dig a little bit deeper onto it. Hey, Julian. Oh, that's awesome to hear, buddy. It's always good to hear that everyone's had a good day. I'm reading Real Haunted Places in Their Story. I was just digging up deeper about the penitentiary in Pennsylvania. Get a little bit more history on it. The castle-like Eastern State Penitentiary took solitary confinement to new levels when it was built in 1829. Prisoners lived alone, exercised alone, and ate alone. When an inmate left his cell, a guard would cover his head with a hood so he couldn't see or be seen. The prison had to abandon its solitary system due to overcrowded in 1913 until it closed in 1970. Not too drastically long ago, 48 years ago. Although the forms of punishment did not get any less severe, chaining an inmate's yeah, I decided that I would read these off to people instead of like doing a questionnaire. Sometimes people just doesn't know the answer. But that is crazy. Chaining an inmate's tongue to his wrist? That's insane. The site now welcomes thousands of visitors every year, both for its museum and ghost tours. Reported paranormal happenings have included disembodied laughter, shadowy figures, and pacing footsteps. I can't imagine chaining the tongue to the wrist. That's crazy. Hello, Mike. Yeah, that would. I don't know if it would be more painful or if it would just literally be more aggravating. The next place is the King's Tavern in Natchez, Mississippi. Has any of you heard of that one? Yeah, I haven't heard of the King's Tavern. It sounds familiar to you? Hey, Terry. I had just got done reading about the Eastern State Penitentiary in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. Had you ever heard of that place? Had you ever heard of the Eastern State Penitentiary in Pennsylvania? Yeah, I just got done reading on it. I tried to find larger stories on it on different places, but I did find out that one of their punishments was to chain their tongue to their wrist when there was inmates. I do too, but I just briefly because there's been a whole lot of different penitentiary explorations. So, so now we're going to be reading The King's Tavern in Natchez, Mississippi. Have you heard of that one? All right. So, built in the late 1700s, the King's Tavern is one of the oldest buildings in the state. The restaurant and bar has a rich and somewhat disturbing history. A man named Richard King bought the building years after it was constructed. The story goes that he hired a young girl named Madeline to be a waitress and then had an affair with her. When King's wife found out, she had the girl killed. It's said that Madeline's spirit now haunts the tavern. Then, in the 1930s, three mummified bodies were found in the tavern's chimney. Some say that these are the bodies of those murdered by the brothers, referred to as America's first serial killers. The Hart brothers were known customers at the restaurant. Today, visitors to the restaurant report heat coming from the fireplace even when it's not lit. Shadowy figures, doors shutting inexplicably, can't pronounce that, sorry, and noises that sound like a crying baby. Doors shutting unexplained. Anyway, yeah, that's kind of crazy. Oh, are you? Cool. Now you can see my imperfections. I bet that tavern would be interesting to explore. I think that'd be interesting. It being an old building alone, that would catch me. This is my favorite place right here, and I'm pretty sure everybody knows this one. The Winchester Mystery House, San Jose, California. Boy, I want to go see that place so bad. I can't stand it sometimes. They only take you through so much of it, though. They won't let you see the entire mansion. But I would still love to go there. Yeah, my goodness. I mean, they say that it's haunted. I just think it's fascinating. You've never heard of the Winchester House? Mark, wow. I figured everybody had heard of that one. Well, then let me share with you about this fascinating place. Sarah Winchester commissioned the building of her mystery house in 1886 after her husband, gun magnate William Wirt Winchester, died of tuberculosis and her infant daughter died shortly after. She was told by a medium that she would forever be haunted by the ghost of those killed with the Winchester rifles, unless she started building nonstop. Sarah used the money she inherited from her husband's death to employ 16 carpenters who worked 24 hours a day until her death in 1922, resulting in a bizarre house that at its peak had a total of 200 rooms, 10,000 windows, 2,000 trap doors, regular doors, and spy holes. Were staircases leading to ceilings, windows leading to secret passageways, and doors opening into walls. The house was built to be haunted, and Sarah lived in it completely alone. Yeah, that's a long time to be building on someplace. Julian's got that right. Yeah, extremely interesting. I mean, it's supposedly haunted, and I guess people has heard things in there, but quite frankly, I just think it's interesting. You got it, girl. You and I both will save up about 1,000 apiece. We'll have ourselves a good time while we're there, and we will explore the Winchester home. I'm all for it. Let's go. I have been so interested in the Winchester home for a long, long time. Yeah, by then I think you and I both will have that. All right. Now, surely everybody has heard of this. The Lizzie Borden's house is in Fall River, Massachusetts. Yep, that's the stopper right there. Mm. You haven't heard of the Lizzie Borden place either? Don't worry, girl. I wouldn't be staying there either. I'd be doing good just to look at the two rooms where Daddy and Stepmommy was killed. My goodness, there is no way I would stay there. I would stay in the Winchester house first before I would in the Lizzie Borden. Yep. Yeah, I do. I know about the Amityville house. I sure do. And it might be on this list. I didn't scroll all the way through. There's like, I think there's 40 listings in here. So it might be in there. Might be in there. The Lisburn House is now a museum and a bed and breakfast, which we know, and anybody who stays there is a lunatic. The Lizzie Borden house was the scene of the gruesome murders of Andrew and Abby Borden, who were found in 1892 covered in blood and beaten to death with an axe. Lizzie, the Borden's daughter, was the prime suspect in the case. The charges against Lizzie were later dropped due to lack of physical evidence, and no one else was ever charged with the murders. The case remains unsolved. Today, guests can stay in the room where Abby was killed. No. According to employees and visitors, the home is full of paranormal activity such as an apparition in Victorian clothing and sounds of reaping, doors opening and closing, footsteps and conversations in empty rooms. Mm. I think Ghost Hunter's done a very brief visitation in this house and they didn't get anything. They didn't pick up anything. Nope. Turns out it was a fake story made up for a book deal. Yeah, the Amityville house was. I've heard. No, thank you, you will not. I know a lot about unsolved murder cases. The JonBenét Ramsey case has intrigued me for so long. I know, I would love to know who killed that little girl. People I follow on YouTube have been there. What, to the Amityville or to the Lizzie Borden house? It is sad about Ramsey. I would love to know who killed that little girl, seriously. Yeah, me too. Me too. I don't see any reason why she would have been killed, but it's hard to tell. Anyway, I have tried so hard to really make out the photo of Andrew's death scene. I don't know why, but I have a fascination with death scenes. Could have been. There's some things that kind of leans toward mom, maybe, but then in other things, you know what, Julian, that is possible. But anyway, I have got a very large fascination with death scenes. I don't know what it is about me, but I really seriously like looking at them. So I tried so hard to get a really good picture of Andrew Borden death scene. And the picture is a little bit too blurred. I mean, you can see it decently, but where it's so old. No, I didn't hear about a man played as Santa. I didn't hear about that. Yeah, girl, I tell you what, I make it down that way. You know, I was going to have to look at some pretty gruesome pictures. Yeah, God definitely knows. I don't know why I've got a fascination with death scenes. I just do. That was the one thing they pointed out, Mark, was that ransom letter. Yep. I always try to find police. The neighbor guy done it. So, yeah, I'm always trying to pull up police file photos. Those are the most interesting, the photos that they have shown. There's this one um, YouTuber named Luther, and she used to post death scenes through the police files, but I think she got on monetized for those videos, so she started taming her videos down. But boy, she used to really post some great uploads. I like looking at her work. Luther, Terry, if you're ever interested, she has got some really cool ones. Luther. Luther. I think you'd like her. That might be on here too. Honestly, I don't think OJ done it. I don't. But then again, um, Mike would be extremely surprised. Has anybody ever heard of the Denver and Rio Grande Railroad Depot in Salt Lake City, Utah? That's a good mouthful. Denver and Rio Grande Railroad Depot. Well, those definitely give a little bit of evidence now, don't they? Wasn't he, though? I tell you what, what's really crazy about Charles Manson, he was certainly driven by the devil right until his death a few years ago. So, has anyone ever heard of the railroad depot in Utah? Oh, well, you are an Agatha Christie, I reckon, though we're not agree with the hubby. Well, then here's some fascinating little Well, a little bit I read about this, it was interesting. Now home to the Utah State Historical Society, the Denver and Rio Grande Railroad Depot was built by George Gould for the Rio Grande Western Railroad and was a travel hub in the early 1900s. A woman in a purple dress haunts the women's bathroom of the Rio Grande Cafe. According to Haunted Houses, this woman was hit by a train after her fiancé threw her engagement ring onto the tracks during a fight. The ghost of George Gould is also said to make the occasional appearance on the balcony and in the lobby. Woman, I tell you, I would love to. Yeah, I saw a little bit document about that. Apparently, he was an extremely abusive husband. We need to. We absolutely need to, Terry. The Stanley Hotel is on this list. It's on this list. Yep, and the Cecil Hotel is on this list too. The Cecil Hotel is where that girl from the elevator was found in the water tank. It's on this too. Now we're at the St. Augustine Lighthouse in Florida. And if I remember correctly, this is the one that the ghost hunters went to, and they caught stuff there. That was such an interesting explore that they've done. I'm going to have to find that. Ah, cool. I am pretty sure the ghost hunters done that one. I know that they've done a few lighthouses. I'm pretty sure they done that one. They did, didn't they, Terry? You know, they saw someone running up the spiral. Oh, were they? Yeah, yeah. No, it's not. Oh my gosh, it's not. I well, actually, with not Jason, but his good buddy, because Jason and his buddy Grant, they founded the Ghost Hunters. And when Grant left, because he left first, I kind of lost interest. I didn't even know Jason left. And if that's the case that both of those two are gone, that's it. I'm never watching them again. They were the best. But now I'll tell you something cool. Steve, my sister in law, my brother's ex wife, she used to be on a ghost hunting team. And they went and met up with the ghost hunters with the TAPS team to do a collaboration explore. And so my sister-in-law was sitting at a park bench, and Steve walked up and looked underneath the bench to make sure that there wasn't any spiders. Now, the really funny thing is my sister-in-law is afraid of spiders too. And she said, "Don't worry, I already looked, there isn't any." So she got to meet Steve in person, and she said that because I asked her, I said, "So how is Jason and Grant and Steve? How are they to work with?" And she said that Jason and Grant and Steve are awesome people, that she enjoyed working with them. I just thought that was so cool that she got to meet them in person. I had always wanted to meet them for real. I had always tried to think, okay, what's haunted here where I'm at so I could call and see if they would investigate. Oh, wow. Seems like I remember hearing of a Cooper. I'm going to have to check into your work, Terry. Seriously, woman. I'm going to have to look your stuff up. So let's go on ahead and read about the lighthouse. The St. Augustine Lighthouse is Florida's first lighthouse and the city's oldest surviving brick structure. The tower's lens is the original lens that was installed during the 1870s. Besides being known for its rich history, the lighthouse is also known for the ghosts that haunt it. It's believed that multiple tragic events that occurred in or near the lighthouse are the cause for the site's paranormal activity. There's the story of the lighthouse keeper who fell and died while painting the tower, and the story of three children who were playing in a cart near the tower, which broke and fell into the ocean, causing them to drown. Visitors claim they've seen the keeper's ghost watching the grounds and heard the sounds of children playing nearby. Cool. Yeah, I heard about that. I read it. I read about that. Well, who knows? Maybe we can make you famous. Yeah, well, that's okay, Terry. Oh, neato. Wow. Okay, I bet everybody's heard of the Myrtles Plantation in Louisiana. They probably wouldn't. Shoot, we'd do good if we could just get into the lighthouse or into the White House. Forget actually getting to film. I have got an interest in the Myrtles Plantation. The story is fascinating. And I've seen the photos of the apparitions, and those are so neat. Yeah, a lot of ghosts. A lot. And I definitely know that the TAPS team done the Myrtle. Commonly known as one of America's most haunted homes, the Myrtles Plantation started off as a working mansion during the late 18th and early 19th centuries. It's an extravagant example of the grandeur that characterized plantations during that time period. The French chandelier in the mansion's foyer is Baccarat crystal and weighs over 300 pounds. That's a heavy chandelier. Today, it's a bed and breakfast. Rumor has it that the house was built on top of a former burial ground, and throughout the years there have been numerous ghost sightings. The most well known being Chloe, who was allegedly a former slave at the plantation. The legends that surround Chloe vary, but most say she poisoned the plantation owner's two children and was then hung by her fellow slaves. Chloe is said to have appeared as an apparition in a photograph taken by the plantation's proprietress in 1992. Yep, but you can also see the kids up on the roof. There was a photo took, and you could see the kids sitting on the roof, and you can see Chloe back in the shadows between the outbuilding and the man. You can see it plain as day. Yeah, whole lot of pain. There we go. And then we need a very good advisor because I wouldn't know how to run the country. You're on, Mark. There you go. Now we're at the Ohio State Reformatory in Mansfield, Ohio. Has anyone heard of that one? Yeah, I agree. Louisiana is full. That would be cool, wouldn't it? I wonder if um, Loretta Lynn's mansion is mentioned because she herself experienced hauntings in her mansion. Uh, a mix of beautiful architecture and crumbling prison cells, the Ohio State Reformatory saw plenty of violence during the 94 years the prison was in operation. The reformatory opened in 1896, hoping to be a place where juveniles were made into better people. In 1990, the federal order that closed the prison cited brutalizing and inhumane conditions. One of the most violent incidents that occurred at the prison was the kidnapping and killing of an employee's wife and daughter, which was carried out by two parolees, parolees in 1948. Just 2 years later, the warden's wife was shot dead by a gun that fell on the she was picking up. One inmate reportedly killed his cellmate and then stuffed his body under a bunk. Tour guides and visitors alike say they can still hear the warden and his wife having conversations. Ooh. Yep. Yeah, she told of a lot of things that she had seen. I reckon they are. In Gettysburg, Pennsylvania, the field of Gettysburg is extremely haunted. Oh, yeah, I knew what you said. Yep. I know where her real house is, the one that she was born in. Butcher Holler wasn't that far from where I used to live in Kentucky. Oh well. So what makes it interesting? Now we're at the LaLaurie Mansion in New Orleans, Louisiana. Has anybody ever heard of the LaLaurie Mansion? Or in other words, the Laurie Mansion, because LA means the. And the show My Crazy Obsessions, I wouldn't doubt if somebody did marry a ghost. The LaLaurie Mansion is named after its owner, Madame Daphne LaLaurie. Oh, okay, well, that's the whole name. After LaLaurie's third husband left her and returned to France, rumors started circulating that she went crazy and started torturing the slaves who lived and worked in her mansion. The first incident that raised concern occurred in 1833 when a female slave fell from a window and died. A year later, there was a fire at the mansion that caused police to come across the mutilated bodies of multiple slaves in the attic. It was believed that LaLaurie tortured her slaves in grotesque ways, drilling holes into their heads, breaking their bones, or removing their intestines. Ugh! The public stormed the mansion after they heard about the story, but LaLaurie was never held responsible. Instead, she escaped to France, where she's thought to have died years later. But the ghosts of her victims are said to have remained in the mansion. Victor, Visitors claim they can still hear their screams. Oh my gosh. Whew. Boy, that's gruesome. No, I believe it, Julian. I believe it. There are crazy people. The Allegheny, Trans-Allegheny, I've heard it pronounced so many times. The Trans-Allegheny Lunatic Asylum in Reston, West Virginia. Originally built as a place of healing, the Trans-Allegheny Lunatic Asylum welcomed its first patients in 1864. The building, which is the largest hand-cut stone masonry building in North America, was built to house 250 people. At its peak in 1950, the asylum was home to 2,400 patients, many of whom endured lobotomies and electroshock therapy. Mental health reforms in the building's poor condition caused the asylum to close in 1994. However, many patients died during the facility's 130 functioning years. Some are believed to haunt the building's halls, which is why the asylum attracts visitors and ghost hunters. You know what? It's possible. Oh, was she? If I went there, I would bawl. And it wouldn't do for me to have a pocket pack of tissues. I would have to literally have a box. I would fall. Possibly. Now we are at the RMS Queen Mary in Long Beach, California. I want to go to the Queen Mary. I would love to walk that. There's also the North Carolina, which is supposed to be haunted. I agree, Mark. I agree. Oh, wow. Oh, my. Oh, that is so cool. Oh, wow. That is so cool. The RMS Queen Mary has had many lives. The ship made its maiden voyage in 1936. Oh, she's not even that old yet. And carried many a Hollywood celebrity from Clark Gable to Elizabeth Taylor and Audrey Hepburn in years to come. Those on board got quite the experience. 2 bars and swimming pools, 5 dining lounges, a grand ballroom squash court, and a small hospital. In 1939, the ocean liner was turned into a troop ship for World War II and named the Grey Ghost. In 1947, the ship resumed its original role and hosted passengers for another 20 years until docking in Long Beach, California on Halloween in 1967. During its time, the Queen Mary, I remember hearing about that, a crew member was murdered in cabin B340, and several children drowned in the ship's pools. The Queen Mary is now a working hotel, one that guests continually say is home to the ghosts of those who died on board. The engine room is a big tourist attraction, thanks to its designation of hotbed of paranormal activity. Now, the one thing that I had found interesting was when the TAPS team went to Queen Mary and they went to the pool. And of course, the pool is dry, absolutely dry. And that place doesn't exist, Julian. They completely tore it down. I don't even know if it is haunted. Why should have anybody been on anybody's list just because of joy? I was on their stupid list because of Joy. Oh, yeah. It's not that a troll came in. It's what they said. It's what they said. That Joni said that they got rid of Saturn Sweet Joy and now I'm off their list. There are way too many idiots. Now that seriously makes me angry. Yeah, well, now they said I'm off the list. So guess what, guys? Guess now we're really going to get to enjoy our chats. But you know what? I don't cuss, and I'm on the edge of saying a foul word right now. I watched that woman grow from 56 subscribers to 470. I watched her grow. There wasn't anything wrong with that woman. I don't know which bothers me worse. Them saying that they got rid of her or them saying that now I'm off their list. Like, what the heck did I ever do to them anyway? And for that matter, what did she ever do? We've got to hang in tight, Terry. We've got to hang in tight. I love that woman to pieces. All because she said that somebody hurt her feelings. And nobody even cared. Let me gain my composure here, guys, and then we'll continue talking about haunted places. I don't even know what we talked about last. Yeah, the Queen Mary. Now I'm off their list. Okay. No, hang with me, Terry. I need right now, woman. I need you. We're going to get talking about this again. Just hang tight, girl. We're going to get back and gather my composure. I'm going to definitely find that video with that phone. I want to see that phone that was on the Queen Mary. We are now on the Dock Street Theater in South Carolina. Does anybody know about that one? Has anyone ever heard of the Dock Street Theater? I believe that's actually another one that the TAPS team went to. The Dock Street Theater in downtown Charleston is one of the oldest theaters in America. After a brief stint as the Planters Inn, when a fire burned down the original theater, it was restored to its true purpose in the 1930s. One of its most famous ghostly inhabitants is Nettie Dickerson, a prostitute who is said to have been struck by lightning while standing on the balcony. Ooh. Some visitors have reported seeing her running amuck on the second floor in a red gown. I understand, Julian, but I don't think they're going to be saying anything more. Quite honestly, Julian, if you and Terry would just hang, I need all of you to stay with me right now. There's always some kind of ghost that's wearing a red gown. That's that's funny. Always a red gown ghost. Hotel Hotel Monte Vista in Flagstaff, Arizona. Never heard of that one. This is a beautiful place. Actually, I got a picture of it. Thank you, Dave. Thank you for coming in, too. It's great to see you. It is ridiculous, but who knows, Terry? Who knows? I've been at YouTube for over a year and everything. I'm not going to let them knock me out, but I know that it's hard for those that's just starting, seriously starting and stuff. But, no matter what anybody chooses, I'm still there for them. I'm still there for them. Yeah, we don't like it at all. Maybe you know what? I don't have a maybe. Let's just go on ahead and enjoy talk about these scary things, these haunted places. This is kind of interesting anyway. I didn't get to finish telling Julian about the case of that church that got caught on fire. But, so we are at the Hotel Monte Vista. It opened in 1927, has a plethora plethora of hotel guests who just never left. Monte Vista's most well-known ghost story is that of this room is thought to have been occupied by an old woman who was a long-term renter and used to sit in a rocking chair near the window for hours. Today, guests, as well as staff, see the chair rocking on its own. Some have even seen the old lady sitting in it. Other paranormal activity includes the sound of a screaming infant that comes from the hotel's basement and sends housekeepers running, a phantom bellboy who knocks on doors and announces room service, and the ghost of two prostitutes who in the early 1940s were killed in room 306 and then thrown from the window. Oh, 306, is that where that old lady was? No, that was in 305. Da, da, da. The most bizarre is the Meat Man, a long-term guest who stayed in room 220 in the 1980s and hung raw meat from the chandelier in his room. His body was discovered in his room 3 days after he had been killed. Ah! Ooh. Boy, there are some gruesome stories to some of these places. And that's a beautiful hotel. Ah. Yesterday I experienced something. I was sitting on my chair at the dining room table, and I was somewhat just, I wasn't completely sitting on the edge, but there was a little bit of space behind me, but not much. And I was just leaning back against the back. And now, a lot of times, Miss Catherine likes to get behind me on the chair and lay down. Good, Nikki. Good. And but last night she wasn't behind me. She wasn't sitting on the chair behind me, and I literally felt her against my side, like she was getting ready to lick her paw or something. I felt her head against my side, and I looked to double make sure because sometimes she gets back there, and I forget that she's there, and I look. My cat wasn't anywhere. She wasn't on the floor behind the chair. She wasn't on the chair, and she wasn't even around the chair anywhere, but I felt her on my back. I love you too, Dave. Thank you so much for even popping in. I appreciate it. It is good to see you. You have a good night. Yeah, so I get to add that if I keep getting enough paranormal experience, I'm going to get to make a my paranormal experience part 2. That would be kind of cool to have a part 2. The list is slowly growing. And then it seems like I had felt something again today, but I'm not recalling if I did or not. I was wanting to share this with you too. A few nights ago, Bouncy likes to sleep with me. And so I had just crawled into the bed and I was petting her to tell her good night. And as I was petting her, I literally felt like something was on the bed walking toward my knee. Now, it used to be that Catherine would get up on the bed and she would lay between my legs, between my ankles. But she hasn't gotten into bed with me since Bouncy's been here. And I literally raised up to look and see if maybe this time my cat had gotten up on the bed. And she wasn't. But it was so weird because I felt the weight slowly moving toward my leg. So, like, weird. So now we are at the Poinsett Bridge in Greenfield, South Carolina. Has anybody heard of the Poinsett Bridge in South Carolina? Yeah, this one's new to me. I've not heard of it either. Besides bearing the distinction of South Carolina's oldest bridge, Poinsett is also believed by many to be a particularly spooky spot. The bridge, which was built completely out of stone in 1820, is rumored to be home to multiple ghosts. There's the story of the mason who died while building the bridge. His body is allegedly entombed inside. Then there's the man who died here in a car accident in the 50s and a slave who was lynched near the bridge. Ooh. It's kind of got a gothic doorway to it, so I guess it's there's a path where you can walk underneath it. I don't think it's water. No, okay, yeah, it's a creek. It's a creek, but still, it's a Gothic style archway. That's cool. I would too. That would be interesting. That would be so very interesting. There's a lot of places I would love to visit. Now we're at the Lord Baltimore Hotel in Maryland. I think I've heard of it. It's only pulling up some photos. The Lord Baltimore Hotel's long history in the city has earned it a spot on the National Register of Historic Places. Designed by William Lee Stoddard, 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 Stoddard. Designed by William Lee Stoddard. It was the largest hotel in the state of Maryland when it opened its doors in 1928. Guests have reported feeling invisible hands touch them in the elevators, but the 19th floor is said to be particularly haunted. The elevators go to the 19th floor when no one has pressed a button. Why the 19th floor? I thought there's always the hidden 13th floor. And according to some, the ghost of a little girl who is said to have committed suicide in the hotel frequents its halls. What happened to the supposed hidden 13th floor that's in all hotels? Okay. Okay, Mark. Good night, you two. I love yous. And so have a good night. Don't forget to give Reagan that kiss on the forehead. Yeah, the 19th floor, that's a little odd. I know, like, there's been reportings of elevators going up to a floor that's not listed, which is the 13th floor, but that's odd. The 19th floor. Pittock Mansion in Portland, Oregon. Anybody ever heard of the Pittock Mansion in Oregon? I have never heard of it, ever. I've never heard of the Pittock. Henry Pittock was the owner and publisher of the Oregonian newspaper, while his wife Georgiana was the founder and fundraiser of multiple charities. The couple built their stately mansion in 1914 and moved in that same year with 8 other family members. Henry and Georgiana didn't live in the house long, though. Georgiana died in 1918 and Henry died a year later. The family stayed in the mansion and continued to own it until 1958. The home is now owned by the city of Portland and is open to visitors. Those who have stopped by the mansion have reported some puzzling occurrences. Some say they smell flowers. Georgiana was an avid gardener in rooms that have none, and others say a childhood painting of Henry moves around in the house on its own. I'd have to see that. A hovering painting. I'd have to see that. Oh, now this is a place that I have wanted to visit bad. And we was going to, Ren, I went to visit my family in May. We was actually going to go visit this, but we really couldn't come up with the money for everybody. Richard, it wouldn't have costed much, but we just ran on ahead and forgoed it. We had the money ourselves, what we had saved for the trip, but my family didn't. This is the Waverly Hill Sanatorium in Louisville, Kentucky. Does any of you know that? No, Grandpa. You're not scary enough. Yeah, tell me about it, Terry. Oh my goodness. And just to visit one alone. But yeah. I want that kiss from Luna, Grandpa. So has anybody heard of the Waverly Hill Sanatorium in Louisville, Kentucky? I want to see this place bad. Really bad. I have to say this is almost like at the top of my list. That and the Winchester House. Waverly Hill Sanatorium started off as a one-room schoolhouse in the late 1800s. This I didn't know. I did not know this. Whoa. I didn't know that. Man, I just found out something brand new about this place. The Board of Tuberculosis Hospital later purchased the land and built the sanatorium, which opened in 1910 as a small quarantine for tuberculosis patients. The large building that now sits abandoned was built in 1926 in response to the need for a larger faculty. facility rather, I'm sorry. The sanatorium could house over 400 patients. Waverly Hills was its own community, complete with a zip code, post office, and water treatment facility. Everyone in the sanatorium, patients, nurses, doctors, were cut off from the outside world. It closed in 1961 after an antibiotic that cured tuberculosis was discovered. Now, see, I didn't know that Waverly Hills also had its own zip code, post office, water treatment, and everything. However, it's believed that some patients never left and still haunt the grounds. Visitors can participate in ghost tours and visit haunted houses during the fall season on the hospital grounds. Yeah, supposedly a nurse had found out that she was pregnant, committed suicide by hanging herself, and there's a kid that plays with a ball in one of the rooms. I would absolutely love to see that. All right, Terry, I love you. That TAPS team explored it too. Let's see here. The Stanley Hotel, Sloss Furnaces in Alabama, Queen Anne Hotel, Lolani Palace in Honolulu. Ooh. Well, let's read about the Lolani Palace in Honolulu. The Aulani Palace was built in 1882 by King Kalakaua, the last king of the Kingdom of Hawaii. The opulent residence was ahead of its time, boasting electricity, telephones, and even indoor plumbing. After Kalakaua's death in 1891, his sister, Queen Liliuokalani, took over both the palaces and the kingdom until the monarchy was overthrown 2 years later. The new government seized the palace and held the queen as a prisoner in her own former home. Today, the palace is a museum, but many visitors say the royals never really left. Visitors have reported seeing ghosts and hearing mysterious music and chanting in the room where the queen was imprisoned. Ow, neato. Ah, the Amityville Horror House. There's still a whole lot of cool stuff here. Yeah, there's still a whole lot of stuff here. We'll be able to do this again on another stream. I'll keep that listed. We'll do this again on another stream. Like I said, there's 40 of them listed here, so there's no way that we could get through all that anyway. No, I don't want to talk to you. So, what places have you all ever visited that supposedly is haunted or anything? Has any of you gone visiting any place? Good night, Luke. I will. Thank you so much, Betty. I appreciate it. I think it's pretty well just you and me, Grandpa. Everybody else is pretty well left. So yeah, it's just basically you and I. Did I get that kiss from that dog? Or did she get all full tonight with the strain? That dog gets a lot of attention, I tell you. Luna is a special dog. Oh, that dog loves to give loving. Man, I could imagine if all of us could just literally see her, as she would be all over us, licking our face. She's just a big old pussy cat of a doggie. She's a beautiful girl. She makes you a really good partner, Grandpa. You two suit each other so very well. It's kind of odd how that our pets suit us. They kind of look like us in some ways. We kind of take on one another. Could you ever see yourself with another dog or any other animal other than Luna? That dog is blessed to have a good daddy like you. She's got a good papa. Now, seeing that pretty well everybody has left, don't know that anybody else is going to be coming in tonight, so I'm going to go on ahead and close this out. We ended up having somewhat of a good crowd, so it wasn't too bad. I'd say you are. I'd say you are. So anyway, I'm going to go on ahead and say good night, Grandpa. You have a great night. I love you. Anybody else who's left on the chat and I don't know that you're there, have a great night.